The passage I'm about to read is taken from Tom Woods' book, Diary of a Psychosis. Written in the form of a diary, it is his personal recollection of what he observed during the COVID panic. The Covid Mass Hysteria was a dark period in which our leadership class betrayed our Western inheritance of reason and civil rights on an altar of fear and stupidity. If we wish to ensure for future generations that these dark times are never repeated, we need to understand what happened and why. Stories such as this are an important part of this process. If you wish to purchase Tom's book, I've put links to it and the extras he offers in the description. At the end of the video, I will add some thoughts. Take a guess at the dangerous, irresponsible thing I'm doing. This week I'll be spending time at various Florida beaches, beginning with a nice visit to author and friend Tom DiLorenzo. That's right, I'll be sitting on the beach, possibly even swimming. You can imagine what the fact-free hysterics think about that. You'll kill people if you go to the beach, even though research, remember the science, suggests there's about a 0% chance of outdoor transmission. Well, one doomer takes the cake, Daniel Ulfelder at DW Ulfelder Law on Twitter. He's been going around Florida beaches dressed as the Grim Reaper. This weekend, for Memorial Day, he says he's been handing out body bags to beachgoers. Of course, precisely 0 deaths will occur as a result of people going to the beach. Ask yourself this: if your chances of being struck by lightning increased by 3 times, would you stay home because your overall risk profile had changed? Or would you venture out anyway because life is worth living? Oh, we're worried about infecting others, comes the answer, and that's another matter for another day. But I've encountered some people, as has my 15-year-old daughter, whose peers are at 0 risk, who are genuinely frightened even now. That's no way to live. And even the older and more vulnerable folks are starting to say, I can't live my final days not embracing my grandchildren and talking to my family only through Zoom. This is not living. By May 25, 2020, the mass formation psychosis known as the Covid panic was in full force. China's propaganda campaign had worked brilliantly, and the West's incompetent intelligence agencies were now running the show. This is why all pre-pandemic planning had been abandoned, and useless rituals, such as beach closures, were now embraced. We were following China's playbook, even though the CCP never had our best interests at heart. How did we ever delude ourselves to think that we could control a virus which could travel to Antarctica by closing beaches? How did we ever rationalize that getting fresh air and sunshine, something that mothers the world over have urged since the beginning of time, be bad? Why did we ever give so much power to ridiculous figures like Ulfelder? When mass protests broke out due to the death of George Floyd, why did the Ulfelders of the world say nothing? In fact, health professionals wrote approvingly of the protests and encouraged them. This was always a pandemic of fear and stupidity, not disease. What this episode exposes is Thomas Sowell's maxim that there are no solutions, there are trade-offs. This is a concept that most on the left, with their limited moral matrix, have a hard time grasping. As human beings, our irrational minds have an extremely hard time assessing risk. To far too many, the psychosis created the impression that death was literally in the air, even without ludicrously costumed Grim Reapers marching around. But when that risk is the same that you take when you walk down a flight of stairs, isn't life itself worth it? But that is the power of propaganda. Too many people had their reason paralyzed by fear. If you want to begin to understand how China sowed the seeds for the COVID panic, get my free ebook, The Little Book of COVID Red Pills, today. In it I explain this, as well as give you the top 5 arguments that can be used to red pill anyone against the lies of the COVID regime. Get it today at redpillcovid.com.